All right, everyone. Uh, Sorry we're a little late here. Welcome to another live stream. Today's date is July 14th, 2025. The current time is 7:32 p.m. And we're going to try doing something little bit different today. We're going to be going live on both uh, TikTok as well as on YouTube Live at the same time. Allow. And let's see something here. Let's go with allow. And boom, we are going to be live. All right. Okay. We are now live on both TikTok as well as on YouTube. Let's take a look here. I'm going to go ahead and get this set up. All right. So we're live on both TikTok as well as YouTube right now. This is something that we're doing for the first time. So I want to welcome you guys. Now let's see if we can find some stocks to possibly trade for tomorrow. All right, so first things first, as usual, we are going to come over to investing.com. And once we're here, we're going to go over to our economic calendar. And what we're going to be doing is the same thing that we do every Monday through Thursday at 7:30 p.m. We're going to check to see what news is going to be coming out tomorrow. Is there anything that may prevent us from trading or anything that we need to be aware of? So now that we're here at the economic calendar, we're going to go ahead and let's go ahead and adjust this so the people over here on uh, TikTok can see that as well. Let's take a look here. I'm sorry. This is the first time we're doing this. Is a little bit of a bootleg setup, guys, but just bear with me a little bit. I just set up my TikTok account, so um, I'm not able to go live as far as streaming through their studio platform. But I have a lot of people on TikTok asking me to see if I can do live and share my screen. All right, so the first thing that we're going to be looking at is for tomorrow. What's coming out tomorrow? Tomorrow we have the OPEC report that's going to be coming out. We're going to wait. We're going to have the OPEC report that's coming out at 7 o'clock. And right now, I will tell you like this. Anything that's dealing with oil, uh, there's two ways you can look at it. You have oil and you have natural gas. With what's going on right now, the current administration, they're saying, hey, you know what? We're going to set more tariffs on Russia and any of their allies, China, India, anyone that's buying natural gas or oil from them. So this can cause the price of oil to go up because now you can only really buy oil from OPEC, from countries that are not affiliated with Russia. So they may corner the market, cause the price to go up, or the European nation as well as the United States can get together with OPEC and tell them, hey, you know what? We're cutting Russia out, but we don't want you to uh, push the price of oil up. So that can go either way. You can make a lot of money, possibly make a lot of money with the oils, or the oil prices can possibly drop because they negotiate that. Now, seeing that all our European allies as well as the United States started to be somewhat on the same page. So right now, oil is a little bit tricky. So I would say kind of stay away from any kind of oil stocks right now until they finalize what they're going to be doing as far as with oil prices. The next thing that we're going to be looking at over here on our economic calendar, and I'm going to be adjusting this for the people on TikTok so they can see it. Next thing that we're going to be looking at is we have core CPI. Um, that's coming out. That's a 3-star, which is coming out at 8:30. Anything else major is coming out? CPI. And like I said to you guys, you don't have to know exactly what these reports are. But let's say, for example, right here, if you click on CPI, this is going to take a minute to load, guys, because we are doing this live, and I have a lot of different things running here in the office. But for example, CPI, Consumer Pricing Index, right? You don't necessarily have to know what it is, but when you click on it, it tells you right here a brief description of what it is. You know, if there's inflation happening in the market, if they feel like there's inflation, you know, how to perceive the report. If the report is higher than expected, it's a positive sign. If it's lower than expected, then it's a negative sign. So with every single one of these reports, you don't necessarily have to know exactly what it is, but you just need to know what industries or sectors will be affected, so you stay away from those stocks. Like for example, with this right here, we have the tariffs happening. We have consumer pricing index coming out. Most definitely, I would say tomorrow would not be a good day to trade any kind of retail stocks or anything like that. Walmart, Target, anything that's dealing with retail, especially even like Amazon, e-com websites, because they're going to be affected by the tariffs, right? And this is why we look at this report on the regular. And then you're going to have the Fed that's going to be speaking. The Fed's going to be speaking all this week because we're going to be coming up to them where they're going to be making the decision on whether or not they're going to increase the interest rates. Right now, last month they were saying that they were thinking about decreasing the interest, like lowering the interest rates. But with everything that's happening between the president and Powell right now, we may have we may end up leaving the interest rates exactly where it's at. So these are some of the things that we're looking at. But it's not overall. Tomorrow we can trade. Tomorrow, most definitely, we can trade. I don't see anything here that's going to prevent us from trading. I just say stay away from the retail stocks. That's what this information is telling us. And like I said, if you click on this right here for the entire week, it'll actually let you see what's going on for the entire week so you can plan out your entire week. But for the purposes of my live videos, I'm going to be going through each one of these day by day. So, I don't just cover it on Monday. And then for the rest of the week, we don't go back to it. So anyone that's tuning in for the first time, they know the routine that we have. Next thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to go over to Finviz, right? And this is a typical day for me. What I do, I don't trade normally on a Monday. I would come in on a daily basis. I see what's going on with my economic calendar. And then from there, I come over to Finviz, which is my stock screener. And I go through and I see what stocks is it that I actually want to. I filter through all the stocks. So as you guys can see here, let me increase this in size so the people on Instagram can actually see, TikTok can actually see this as well. So let's increase the size here of the fonts of the text. All right. So here you guys can see that we're starting off with roughly about, we're starting off right here with roughly about 10,236 stocks in total, right? And this is without any filters being put in place. So what we're going to be doing right now is the first thing is I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the countries. I'm going to say I only want to look at stocks that these stocks are U.S. based, and that brings us from 10,236 to 8,923 stocks. That's what we're looking at right now for the U.S. Now I'm doing this from the perspective of a brand new trader, and I'm not saying I'm a brand new trader because of my class that I have on Udemy, which is quick plug, stock trading simple beginner guide. I teach so I'm doing it from the perspective of one of my students, and I'm telling them, okay, we're going to go ahead and we have a 500. Let's assume that we have a $500 account balance. So we have a $500 account balance, and so we don't want to buy stocks that are too expensive. And we'll go over and I'll show you why. But what we're going to do is we're going to customize this, and we're going to say we only want to buy stocks between the price of $5 and the max $30, right? And for those of you who have watched some of my previous videos, you understand that just because you buy, and if you watch some of my shorts, it'll explain to you, just because you buy a very expensive stock doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a better ROI, right? And that brings our 8,000 stocks from 8,000 to 3,808 stocks. Next, we're going to go to the average volume, right? You'll hear a lot of traders tell you, oh, you got to go with average volume over 2 million, meaning 2 million or over, saying that they sold at least for the last 30 days, they've been selling at least 2 million stocks or more, shares of stock, not dollars, but stocks or more on a daily basis. But I always say for a new trader, you want to have as many options as possible as far as the amount of different stocks that you can find to trade. So I say bring it down to about over 1 million. So meaning on average for the last 30 days, each one of these stocks have sold a million stocks. Each one of these companies have sold either a million stocks or more. And that brings us down from 3,000 to 642 stocks that we have to look at, right? Now, the other thing that I'm going to tell you is when we go over here to technical, one of the most important parts of trading is your ATR, right? So what I say to my new traders is we want to look at stocks that has a movement average of at least $1 or more, meaning that stock has gone up or down on average $1 or more. Okay, so sometimes you buy a stock, and when you buy that stock, it may only go up for it may only move like 5 cents or 10 cents for the day, and you sit on the stock for like weeks or days and it barely ever moves, it's because the ATR is very low. So we're looking for stocks with a ATR of $1 or more. So these stocks have every stock on this list is going to at least move up or down $1 or more, right? And so that brings us down to 101 stocks. So we went from over 10,000 stocks to 110 stocks, 101 stocks that we can possibly filter through and find good trades, right? Now, like I always say, as a new trader, sorry, as a new trader or somebody who's probably new to trading, I always say there are two things that you want to stay away from, two sectors. One, you want to stay away from healthcare. All right, anything that's in the healthcare sector, you want to stay away from it because these are hospitals, pharmaceutical companies, and different things like that. And what happened with these companies is the fact that, let's say, for example, I'm a pharmaceutical company. The stock may be down all year round, and I come up with this new pill or this new drug, and all of a sudden my stock shoots through the roof. And after a while, let's say there's a recall, and my stock is riding up high, but there's a recall or there's a problem with the stock, it's just going to crash. These stocks, healthcare stocks, really go based off of on fundamental analysis. Basically, anything that's happening in the news, any kind of new product that they release, that's what help push healthcare stocks up. Most healthcare stocks don't just move up on regular like regular stocks do. They have their moments or their seasons whenever they pass a new drug out or a new trial, and then the stock blows up, but then eventually it just drops off. So I always say stay away from the healthcare stocks. The next one, as a new trader, I would recommend most new traders stay away from is ETFs, all right? Exchange trade funds. The reason for that is because you have to be able to look into an ETF and break it down and say, okay, what stocks or what makes up this particular ETF, right? And just to kind of show you guys an example, I'm going to click on this ETF over here, all right, because I see a lot of people, like I said, this is my first time really doing the live on TikTok. So I see a lot more people tuning in on TikTok than on YouTube. So just to kind of show you guys a little bit what I'm talking about, when you go to an ETF, right, you'll see right here where it says top holdings, right? So you can see all of the holdings. There are 4 holdings in total. And then here are the different sectors that it makes out of. Like this particular ETF doesn't have any stocks. It has cash, it has futures, it has other stuff, but it has no stocks. Now, some ETFs could have 20, 30, 50 different, you know, things that make it up. It could be a mixture of stocks, futures, commodities, whatever the case may be. But if you don't know what's in that ETF, then you're going to buy an ETF and you can possibly lose a lot of money. So that's why I say, as a new trader, you want to stay away from ETFs, and you most definitely want to stay away from healthcare stocks, from the healthcare sector, right? So let's go back over here to our screener. So we come down to 101 stocks that we're looking at. But if you eliminate all of your, if you eliminate all the healthcare and all the ETFs, that brings it down to about 50 different stocks that you have to go through. Now, I already went through this list earlier, and it's a total of 6 pages. I already went through this list earlier, and I picked out all of the stocks that we can possibly, and I kind of went through them, I filtered through them, and I picked out stocks and I added them to my watch list so I can show you the stocks that I'm looking at. And we're gonna go ahead and look at the possible entry point, stop loss points, and take profit points, right? So we already went through this list. So we're gonna go ahead and close this off now. And we're gonna go over to TradingView. So the next step is to take that list from our stock screener, and then we come over to TradingView, and we're going to go ahead and start doing our technical analysis, okay? And let's see here. We're going to start doing our technical analysis, and let's go ahead and increase this right here. So let's go ahead and increase the size of this so you guys can see it a lot better. And I'll try to get it positioned in a place where even the people on TikTok could see it as well. All right, there we go. All right. So I'll try to keep everything in this section so the people on TikTok can see it as well. Now here, you'll see this is my watch list over here. And this watch list, actually, everything in green is stocks that I'm actually in trades for, okay? And the ones that you see in purple, which is this one in purple, is what I sold today. The ones in blue are the ones that I got off of our stock screener, and these are things that I added to my watch list, and we're going to go through each one of these right now. Okay, so the first one is going to be ASST. So ASST, let's go ahead and we're going to pull that up on our screen, and we're going to see, and I'll show you guys why I actually added this to my watch list. Okay, so here you guys can see where I go ahead and bring this over. Let's bring it over here. All right. So on my chart, I already have it set up for those of you who took in the class on Udemy. I have it set up with our moving averages. Okay. And I have it color coded green and red with our moving averages. Over here, I have our RSI. Okay. And, and then I have our support and resistance points. This particular stock, if you look at it, and the way I have it color coded with my moving averages, is typically when the green line's on top and it's pointing up, and the red line's at the bottom and it's pointing up, that lets me know that we're in an uptrend, right? And then as it starts to consolidate, like right over here, you can see stock was starting to go down, but over here is showing that it's kind of hovering here. We may be going back into an uptrend. So we're on a daily time frame here. So I'm going to switch this over from the daily time frame to the 4-hour time frame. Now, when I switch this over to the 4-hour time frame, you can see, and the 4-hour time frame is an early indicator of what's going to happen on the daily time frame. So here on this 4-hour time frame, you can see clearly here the red line's on top and it's pointing down, and we're clearly in a downtrend, right? And then we have where we have the crossover, and this is our golden cross, where here at this section, we have the green line is now on top, it crossed over and is pointing up. The red line's at the bottom. The red line is not pointing up right now. Right now it's pointing sideways, but we know that this could be an early indicator that we are coming out of this downtrend and we're going to be moving into a possible long-term uptrend, right? So one of the things that we're looking at is we're going to look at two things. An early indicator of that is our RSI right over here. So the red line over here is the 50 mark. When the RSI, as you can see, is here and it's above that red line, the purple line here is above the red line, we're typically in the uptrend. So if you look at the cross and you look straight up across, when it got above the 50, this is when all this started happening. We started being, beginning of an uptrend. You started to see our moving averages consolidate, and the red line crossed over, went underneath, and the red line and the green line went on top, letting us know this could be the possible beginning of an uptrend. And this is on our 4-hour time frame. And the 4-hour time frame is an early indicator of what's going to happen on a daily time frame for tomorrow. So what I'm going to do now is, the reason why I added this to my watch list is because I got to keep an eye on this, because tomorrow, if on my RSI it starts to point up on our 4-hour time frame, red line starts to point up, green line is pointing up, and it opens up higher in our pre-market. And then I change it over to my daily time chart. On our daily, let's go here. On our daily time chart, if I start to notice that the red line starts to consolidate and crosses down underneath the green line, then I would buy into it. But that's what I'm waiting to see what happens. And also over here, if you can see on our RSI over here, it's right on top of the red line. So I'm also looking to see on my RSI if it starts to point up as well. If it hits this red line over here, the red dotted line, which is the 50 mark, and then it starts to point up and move up, then I know that I'm in a possible, it's going to start a new uptrend. All right. Now, if I was to get into this trade with the $6.20, I would probably sell right about here around $10. The reason for that is because if you actually pull back a little bit more, you'll see it's been a while since this stock has even been in that area, in that price point. This hasn't been up here in that area, in that range since like 2023. So I wouldn't feel real comfortable just riding the wave all the way up. I'll try to get it to hit $10 and then be out of it, especially if I'm a new trader and I'm starting off with roughly about $500 in my account. Okay, so that's the first one that I'm adding in. So possible entry point would be once I see that on our RSI starts to point up. All right, so there's not an exact price point right here, but we have an area, because there's not a clear area of resistance, not on our 4-hour or on our daily. So, but I like it because of the price point, which is $6.20. I'll be able to get more stock, and with a $2 movement, I'll be able to make a killing. Let's see here if I can show you guys an example of this here. Let's open up our Google Sheets. And in the meantime, because this particular stock here has a great ATR on our daily time frame over here. Okay, so this particular stock has an ATR of $1.29. So this stock right here moves up or has moved up or down on the last 14 days at least $1.29. So on average, the stocks moves up or down $1.29. That's the ATR in this one. So let's look at our calculator here for the ATR. Should have had this open up earlier. So let's go ahead and zoom in here. All right, let's take a look. Please bear with me just a little bit, guys. And let's see here. Where's our zoom in button? Nope. View, zoom in. There we go. So let's go up about 150. Let's move this over. So let's go up a little bit bigger. All right. So let's just move this over so you guys can see what I'm talking about here on TikTok. Okay. So this is something that I think you guys really want to go ahead and see. So let's say the stock symbol right here, we have a $500 account balance, right? So let's say the stock symbol is AST. The current price of this stock is $6.20. It's $6.20, right? So what that means is with $500 balance, we can buy 80 stocks, right? For $6.20, we can buy 80 stocks, and that's going to cost us $496. This stock has an ATR of $1.29, meaning on average, this stock for the last 14 days has gone up or down at least $1.29, right? So let's just go ahead and black this out right here. Let me just black that out because I don't want you guys to see that. That's for something else right there. All right. So what that basically means is if this stock was to go up $1.29, right? Because I get 80 stocks for the $496, I can make $103.20. Okay, if I buy the stock and it just goes up $1.29 because I have so many stocks. Okay, because I have so many of them. But also at the same time, if it goes down $1.29, I could possibly lose $103.20. This is why I always look at my ATR, and this is why I always try to buy the cheaper stocks first. I try to stay far away from the penny stocks, which are like $5 or less. But $5 is kind of like my bottom mark. Okay, and I was showing somebody, I think like with Tesla, I think let's show you guys an example. Tesla stock was roughly about, and I'm going off the numbers from last week. Tesla stock was roughly about $300 last week, and Tesla had an ATR as of last week. Tesla stock had an ATR of about $16. All right. So what that basically means is if you're a new trader and you're starting off with a $500 account balance and you buy an expensive stock like Tesla, which is 300 or more, even like 290, you're only going to be able to buy one stock. And even though that one stock moves an average of about $16 a day, meaning that stock can move up or down $16 a day, you're only going to make $16 because you can only buy one stock. And this is why you have to pay attention to the ATR. And this is why you'll always see me start off with the cheapest stock prices first. Okay. So let's go back over to TradingView and look at the rest of the stocks that are on the list. Okay, let's go back over here. Now, let's see here. Let's go right there. There we go. All right. I do say pardon me to the people on TikTok. Okay, I'm trying to work this out. So hopefully next week after I think on the 27th, my account is going to be at least 30 days old, and with the amount of followers that I currently have on TikTok, which is over 1,000, then they'll allow me to use the TikTok Studio where I'll be able to live stream and share my screen directly on TikTok. So the next stock that we're going to be looking at is going to be HUSA. All right. So with this particular stock here. Let's go ahead and let it load. All right, so with this stock, we have our moving averages. We're looking at it on a daily time frame. All right, and we're going to increase that so everybody can see. All right. All right. Like I said, I color code my moving averages, which is the green lines on top. Once the green line is on top with the moving averages, and the red lines at the bottom, which is the moving average over here. That lets us know that we're in an uptrend. And as you can see, we have the crossover that happened right over here. And sure enough, it happened when the stock price had jumped up. And even though the stock was coming down, we were still going, the stock is still kind of like somewhat in the uptrend. It had a pullback here, and this is the pullback, and now the stock is going back up, right? So, and then if you look at our RSI over here, the RSI starting at this point right here, if you look straight down at the RSI is above the 50. So it's above the 50, it hits the 50, and then it hovers right there, and is staying right above the 50 mark. So I'm keeping an eye on this. And once again, we are on our daily time chart. I'm keeping an eye on this because I'm going to see what happens tomorrow. So here you can see that the stock closed in red at $10.72, but post market, it actually went up to $11.10. So the stock price is moving back up. Now, if tomorrow with my RSI is pointing up, okay, and if the RSI is pointing up and the stock moves up a little higher, I will buy that stock and move into it and just ride the wave up. Okay. And I'll probably go as high as $18. Now, if we switch over to our 4 hour time frame on this particular stock, I'm looking to identify and see that where it's the same thing is happening here. So you see on our RSI, the RSI is right there on the 50 on the 4 hour time frame. So if it breaks below the 50, I'm not going to bother buying it if it breaks below the 50 and stays below the 50 on the 4 hour time frame, because this is an early indicator of what's happening. Here we can see that the red line is on top, the green line is at the bottom. But because that candlestick is right here in the middle, tomorrow, depending on what's happening, if I see a crossover where it starts to rise up and it goes above at least $12, then I will go ahead and buy it, because I know, and the RSI here on a 4 hour time frame is pointing up, then I know I can buy that stock and possibly move up. Now, this particular stock is oil and gas production. So this right here would not be one of the top stocks that I would look at buying, but I just added it to my watch list because I want to see what happens with it. Right now, there's a lot of uncertainty with oil, and that's why you notice with the RSI, it's just kind of like hovering right there along the 50 mark. It doesn't necessarily know what it wants to do, but it's something to keep an eye on. Next stock that we're going to look at is SG, which is going to be Sweet Green. This one was on my watch list from last week. So let's see if anything had changed where we can possibly buy into this particular stock right now. All right, we're going to let that load up. And that's what happens when you're doing stuff live, people. Uh, I got two big screens running. I got my laptop running. I'm here in the office. I got cable, and the other computers are running. So, and I'm down here in Miami, Florida, and we do have a little bit of a thunderstorm. So that's probably why the internet is a little bit lagging today. And see, as soon as I said that, there was a flash of lightning. All right. So let's see what happens here. Let's try to reload that. Sorry about this, guys. I hope it's not lagging on your end. All right, there we go. And it's loading back up. Gotta love Comcast. All right, and here we go. And here we go. So, let's see here. And guys, I am by no means, if you guys, anyone that's subscribed to my channel on YouTube or on TikTok, by no means am I an influencer. I'm not trying. I have a class on Udemy. I always tell people I'm not an influencer. I'm a teacher. If you want to take the course that I have on Udemy, that's great. But these live videos are really for the students that have already signed up to my course. And so this way, if they have any questions, they can ask me stuff about different stocks and everything else like that. I haven't opened up the Q&A section of the live yet, because I kind of want to go through some of these, because I know a lot of people have been watching these particular stocks that are on my watch list since last week. All right, cool. And what's the funny thing about it, now that I see it loading? I've seen a lot of videos on TikTok and also on Instagram where traders are like, people are showing you guys, oh, you should buy here. And they have no type of indicators at all on their charts. They just have like these blank charts, right? And I'm sitting here like, how could you trade if you have a blank chart like that? I mean, it's not really feasible for you to trade without any kind of indicators or anything else like that on your chart. So when I see stuff like that and they're just like pointing out buy areas and they're using trend lines, I just think that that's kind of ridiculous, because every trader has indicators that they use. Perhaps they just don't want to show the indicators that they're using, but we all have indicators that we're using. Let me go ahead and close that out, see if that helps. I don't even know if I'm still connected to the internet. Okay, let's see. Here's my cable floor. Oh, we have a flood watch and thunderstorm. Okay, so that's probably what's happening here. And I felt like I was on a roll too. So let me just see if I can refresh this. Yep. And let's go here. Yep. I think we're having a little bit of a technical difficulty. Let's see. Just bear with me here, guys. Did that work? Of course, this would happen when I got a lot of people watching on TikTok, and we know TikTok is not that nice. All right, good. So it's starting to load. All right, so let's go back to our watch list over here. All right, so the next stock that we're going to be looking at was going to be Sweetgreen. All right, so let's go over to Sweetgreen over here. All right, like I said, this one has been on my watch list for a while. And this particular stock over here has an ATR of 88 cents, meaning this stock moves up or down at least 88 cents on a daily basis. Right now, the price of this stock is going to be $13.56. The stock right now, if you look at it, and we're on our daily time frame, you can see right here on our RSI, it's below the 50 mark. Is below the 50 mark. This is kind of like the bottom out area right here. This area right here is the area of support, right? And that's at around $12.46. Right now, the stock price is about $13.56. I'm waiting to buy it once it breaks above the RSI, above the 50 mark. Once it breaks above it, and it's above it for at least, it's pointing straight up, I will go ahead and buy it, because right here you can tell that with our moving averages, you can see the red lines on top is pointing straight down, green lines at the bottom of it pointing straight down, letting us know that we're in a clear downtrend, right? But in this area right here, you see it's consolidating, right? When it starts to consolidate right here in this area, that lets you know that we're in a possible change for an uptrend. And another clear indicator about that is the fact that the stock price kind of just hovers right around here. So there's a lot of indecisiveness happening. It's not tanking. It's not rising. It's kind of like the bulls and the bears. They're fighting with each other, trying to figure out who's gonna take over. So, like I said, an early indicator of that would be to go over to our 4-hour time frame. And once you go over to the 4-hour time frame here, because right now we're on a daily time frame, you can see on the 4-hour time frame, this green section is the area that I marked out as far as our area of support. And I always tell people, especially all the new traders that take my course, your area, even though you see this red line as the area of resistance and you see this blue line as the area of support, it's not one line. It's actually a zone. And that's why I have this green box here that I put here to show the zone for the area of support, meaning the stock can come anywhere in here and it bounce back up. But once it breaks through here and it closes at the end of the day, it closes below that area of support, more than likely the stock is going to continue dropping, right? So on our 4-hour time frame, which is what we're on right now, the green line's on top, red line's at the bottom, but they're going sideways, right? The green line is not, which is our moving average. The green line was, well, I'll call it the green moving average line. The green moving average line is not pointing up. Once that's pointing up and the red line moving average is pointing up as well, it lets us know that we're in a clear uptrend. Right now, they're going sideways, so there's indecisiveness on what direction the stock is going to go. So what I'm waiting for on our 4-hour timeline is on the RSIs for the purple line to come above the red line, which is the 50 mark, clearly be above it like it was here in this section. If you look right here where it got above the red line of 50 mark, if you look at the charts up here, it was clearly going in an uptrend. It touched that area of resistance right here and it bounced back down. So right now you can say we're in a sideways trend, which is it goes up, come back down, goes up, come back down. But this is like a sideways trend, like a tunnel, right? So more than likely, it's already tested it 1, 2 times. So if it tests it the third time and this breaks above here, I'm going to feel very confident that the stock is going to break through it. So I can buy it a little bit earlier, like once it gets in this area. But if I was giving advice to a brand new trader, I would say wait for the stock to close right here above this area of resistance. Once it breaks through this area of resistance, then you want to buy the stock because it can ride the wave all the way up to about $20.
okay, comfortably. So I've been keeping an eye on this, and I'm just waiting for the breakthrough. And that's what I'm waiting on right here, for the breakthrough, this area of resistance. So that's why I have this one on my watch list. And just because I add a stock to my watch list, I might not be able to buy it right then and there, but I could buy it maybe tomorrow. I could buy it, next week. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be able to buy it. I just see a setup for me to possibly buy the stock. Now, out of this entire list right here on my watch list, I might be able to only buy one stock or two stocks tomorrow. But throughout the week, I'll be able to buy, or maybe even next week, I'll be able to buy one of these. All right. Because remember, we went from 10,000 stocks to 101 stocks, and then we were able to filter that down to about 50 to 60 stocks. And by after going through that list, I was able to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 stocks on this watch list. And out of the 10, 5 of them were from last week. So I was able to add 5 stocks from today's watch list. All right. So the next stock that we're going to be looking at is VRNT. VRNT. Let's look at it starting off on our daily time frame. Here on our daily time frame, the reason why I'm going to buy this stock is because we're coming from a pullback, right? So as you can see here, the stock price, let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit more. Let's bring that over so people on TikTok can see that as well. So here we can see where and let me, a second, let me put this demonstrator thing on here so you guys can see the red line. So here you guys can see where we had the crossover, right? We're coming from a downtrend where the red line's on top as far as moving average. It's on top. It crossed down underneath the green line. The green line is now on top, right, as far as the moving average. And this is what I'm talking about. See here, the green line was going sideways, right? And the red line was pointing down and it started to go sideways. And here you can see the stock price went all the way up here when they crossed over, because most professional traders, they're using these moving averages. And so when they saw that, they were like, oh crap, everybody bought. But it was not a real uptrend because the moving averages were moving sideways. So the stock kind of like bounced down, came back up. It's not a downtrend because it never crossed over. But here, when the green line starts to move up and point up in direction, and the red line starts to point up in the upward direction, green line's on top, red line's at the bottom, what happens? We are in an uptrend, people. And then you say, well, Adley, if we're in an uptrend, why did it come back down? 2 reasons. One, this is an area of resistance over here, right? And if you look at the date over here for this particular candlestick, this red candlestick, this was Wednesday of last week. And what happened Wednesday of last week? Our president announced the letters for the tariffs, right? And when he announced the letters for the tariffs, just about every stock that you look at on Wednesday, they came down, right? So this was Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, because people were unsure what's going to happen with these tariffs because he's sending out these letters. And this is why you see, I always tell you, you have your technical analysis, right? Your technical analysis is telling you, okay, the stock is going to go up. And then you have your fundamental analysis. And this is the fundamental analysis right over here. The president comes out, we're sending out letters. We're sending out 21 letters. By the end of the day, the next day he sent out an additional 7. So like 27 or 28 letters he ended up sending out to different countries with the tariffs. And boom, stocks come down. And this candlestick is for today because we're looking at everything on our daily time frame, right? So this right here could be a pullback. And this is what I look at it as. This right here is a pullback because we're in an uptrend. So I'm looking at 2 things here. This is a pullback, so I'm able to get it close to this area of resistance over here, which would be my my stop loss right underneath here at like 1911 would be my stop loss if I was to buy the stock here at $20.07. But the other thing I'm looking at is for tomorrow morning. Here on our RSI, you can see the purple line is above the red line, which is the 50 mark. So as long as it stays above here, if tomorrow if I see it starts to point up and I see the price start to move back up, I'm going to more than likely buy this stock because we're going to be going back into an uptrend. It's going to be retesting this area of resistance right over here, right? It didn't come down below this area of resistance. It may come down and touch it, but as long as it doesn't break through that area of resistance, we're probably going to be in a good uptrend, and it'll come back and test this area of resistance right over here. So even if I bought it here at $20.07, it has a chance of going up to at least $22. So I can make a $2 profit for each stock that I own, especially if I have a $500 account balance. And I can probably just ride this stock up all the way up a little higher. I think this stock, if it breaks through this area of resistance, when it comes back and retest it, I think it's going to break through it. I'm just going to wait for it to close. Once it closes above it, then you know that you're in a cool uptrend. So you can buy the stock here, let it get to this area of about $22, or I'll say about 21.50. You can sell the stock and then wait to see what happens. If it breaks through it and it closes above that area of resistance, then you can rebuy it again and then ride the waves up. Now, because you have two things, you have realized profit and unrealized profit, right? So if I buy that stock at $20.07 and it gets up to $21 and let's say $21.75, and I sell it, that's profit in my pocket. Okay. And I'm going to sit back and I'm going to wait because it could hit it and then do another pullback, right? But if it hits it and does another pullback, I already took profit, put it in my pocket. But even if I sell at 21.75 and then it continues to go up, and at the end of the day it closes above this area of resistance around like $20 and $22.20, I can buy it again and then ride the wave up. But I didn't get stuck. If it does pull back, I don't get stuck in it for another what? See right here, it tested the area of resistance. This is 2, 3, 4. Okay, it's 4 days of going down to do a pullback, and then it's going to take maybe another 2 days or so because this stock has an ATR of $1.13, meaning this stock moves up $1.13 on average a day for the last 14 days. I don't have to be stuck in it for another, 3 to 4 days or 6 days because it has to do a pullback and then go back up and test it and break through. Take your profit right here. If it closes above it, then you buy it again and then you just ride the waves up. All right. Don't be greedy. That's how a lot of people lose money. All right. We've all been there. Now, I always say you want to double check your stocks on the 2 time frames. If you're trading on a daily time frame, you always want to check it on a 4-hour time frame to sit there and say, okay, did both of these need to line up, right? So here on our 4-hour time frame, we can see that the green line's on top, it's pointing up. Red line's at the bottom, it's pointing up. But you see this little tip right over here on both of these? It looks like it's about to do a curvature and come and start to maybe cross over, right? So what I'm going to do now is also tomorrow, I got to keep an eye on my RSI, which is here, because you see it's touched our 50 line mark, which is the red line here, the red dotted lines. And so tomorrow I need to see this thing start to bounce back up and point up, just like it did here. It comes down, it touches it and bounce up. It comes down, it touched it, and it bounced up. So until this starts to point up on a 4-hour time frame, I'm not going to buy it, because if on a 4-hour time frame it continues dropping, that basically means on our daily time frame, more than likely, because like I said, the 4-hour time frame is an early indicator of what's going to happen for the day on our daily time frame, meaning we can still have more pullback coming to where it can come down all the way to maybe $19.28. All right, so I'm going to keep an eye on this right here for tomorrow, because this may be a trade I can jump into. The next stock that we're going to look at is going to be SOC. All right, SOC is another stock that we're looking at. And the reason why we're looking at this one, this is not one that I added from today. This is one from last week. So let's see if it's still in, let's see if we still have a trading opportunity here. Okay, let's look at it on a 4-hour time frame. It's been consolidating now for like a while. All right, I kept an eye on it because I think last week when I added it to my list, you saw the consolidation like right around here where it was kind of like starting to consolidate on Monday, and you see coming together, but it hasn't crossed over yet. So I'm waiting for it to cross over where the green line will cross over, get on top, starts pointing up. Red line will be at the bottom, but also pointing up. And then that'll be an early indicator that, hey, we're in the beginning of a possible uptrend. And right here is an indicator that we may be in the beginning of a possible uptrend. I've been having this on my watch list now for a week, and I probably might end up getting a chance to buy it tomorrow or sometime this week, because here on our RSI you can see it's broke through the 50, because you see all over here that purple line was underneath the red lines, right? And then finally today, Friday, yes, today, because it's the 4-hour time frame. So finally today it actually broke above it, right? So if it starts to clearly point above this tomorrow and we have a crossover here, then we might be in a possible uptrend. We may be in the beginning of a possible uptrend, because this could be the bottom out right here. Remember I told you that when you look at these charts, our support area is not just one line, it's a zone. So here, I'm going to do this like that, and I'm going to change the color to blue so I can show you what I'm talking about here. And let's make this just a little bit more transparent so you guys can kind of see the candles. Okay, so here you can see this area right here is a zone of support, meaning the stock comes up here and it kind of bounces, it touches and bounces, but it won't break through. If it broke through here, through this blue line, through this area of support, then we know that we're going to be in a fall, basically a continuous downtrend. So if you buy it here at this price, it's more than likely going to bounce up if there's a good crossover of everything happen, like we talked about with our RSI. And then we can buy the stock, and we know that we can set our stop loss right underneath here. So we buy it right now at 22.77. We will set our stop loss at about 20.40 because, for it to break through the zone and go underneath here, that means we're probably going to be going into a downtrend. So I'm keeping an eye on this to see what happens, especially on our 4-hour and daily time frame. And here's the thing. You may be, and you see what happened when I switch it over to the daily time frame. You can clearly see how everything kind of like lines up and it touches the bottom. So when you add a stock to your watch list, you might not be able to trade it for a couple days or maybe a week or so until that setup happens. And you'll hear a lot of professional traders talk about stick to your setup. Okay, don't buy it too early. I mean, everything here, like, let me go back to this 4-hour time frame. I know I'm talking a lot, but I'm just trying to really educate a lot of people because I see some of my students in here. Um, so if you look here on our 4-hour time frame, right, everything looks so good. Like, oh, look at this. This is the area. This is the top line of the area of support. This is the bottom of area of the line of support, and the stock is hovering right above it. And our moving averages are starting to consolidate, so they're more than likely that green line is going to go on top and the red line's going to be at the bottom. It's going to go up, right? I can say that and I can buy now, but I'm taking a chance because my setup is don't buy until the crossover actually happens where my green line moving average is on top and is pointing up and my red line's at the bottom, but it's also pointing up as far as the moving average. And then I know I'm in the uptrend and I'm looking for that on my 4-hour time frame as well as my daily time frame. So until that my setup happens, I'm not going to buy. I'm not going to hope and I'm not going to buy it early and be like, oh, I hope it happens and predict that it's going to happen. Also, for those of you on TikTok watching, if you want to see the full screen, you guys can go over to my YouTube channel. Okay. So the second thing that we're going to be looking at is AAA. This is the last stock that I had from last week, and all the rest of the stocks down here are really stocks that I added on today, I believe. Yeah. No. Yeah, no, yeah. So this stock AAA, this is aluminum. This company right here specializes in aluminum, right? And we're in a tariff battle right now with Canada, and our president is arguing with Canada, and Canada provides us with, I believe, anywhere between 60 to 80% of our aluminum comes from Canada, right? Now this company right here is a US based company, so here's the thing, they could probably monopolize on the amount of saying, hey, look, we're going to sell even more aluminum now because we're putting a tariff on Canada's aluminum and other countries, so they can possibly make more money, right? And if you look at this, the stock really kind of broke through here when we were talking. The stock really kind of broke through, was kind of up above the area of resistance when they talked about the tariffs, when Trump kind of announced the tariffs on Wednesday, right? So that's when it kind of hovered above it. But what happened is we made a deal with our European allies, right? And we talked about tariffs, and he talked about, okay, he's going to give them more time, and the stock price is starting to come back down. But I still think that this stock has a good run to make. And the reason for that is because we have our moving averages, green lines on top, and it's starting to point up. Red lines at the bottom, it's starting to point up here. It's sitting right here on this line, which is the area of resistance, right here on this line. On our RSI, our RSI is above the 50. So if tomorrow this actually it bounces off the 50 mark on our RSI and it starts to point up and it stays above this area of resistance, I would buy it at 30 and I would ride the wave up to right about here, about 35.25. And then I would probably get out of this trade after that. Um, and the reason why I say that is because it's aluminum. We don't produce a lot of aluminum here in the United States. And if the president in Canada, they're having issues and they're, charging tariffs, this company could probably monopolize and make a lot of money off of those, right? So you would want to keep an eye on this one. Oh, here's something very crazy. And this is something I tell a lot of my students when they take the class. And this is why we look at our economic calendar. And this is why I love TradingView. You see this E right here? That lets us know what's coming out. Earnings reports coming out. So am I going to trade this tomorrow? Hell no. I'm sorry, excuse my French, but I will not trade this tomorrow now. Okay. And I'm glad I kind of caught that. A lot of you guys, you see a lot of traders trading live on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube during trading hours. You'll never really see me trading live during trading hours because I have to concentrate. If I'm explaining stuff and talking to you guys while I'm trading, I'm gonna make mistakes and I'm gonna like not see something. So I'm extremely focused when I'm trading. So I never do any kind of live trading. Like after I jump into a trade or I make a trade, you might see me post a short saying, hey, I just bought this stock, I just sold this stock afterwards. But that's why you'll go to my Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok channel, and you'll see some ugly videos where I basically just take my phone, I point at the screen, and I make a quick short and I point out some stuff, but I don't really have time to do all that editing stuff, okay? So my videos might look cruel and ugly, but very informative. See here, we have our earnings report, which is coming out on Wednesday. So even if tomorrow I have a really, really good setup, right? And tomorrow, let's say on our RSI tomorrow, this starts to point up and stays above the area of resistance, it starts to move up. Because the earnings report is coming out on Wednesday, I'm not going to trade this stock maybe until Wednesday evening, depending on what time this stock, and this comes out after the market close. So it comes out Wednesday evening after the market close. So I may not trade this stock until Thursday. All right. And I'm talking about like not Thursday at 9 o'clock or pre-market. I'm talking about like Thursday at like 10 o'clock. I'm going to let the market makers, which are the big investors, I'm going to let them kind of digest the information that came out from the earnings report and make a decision on whether or not they're going to sell or continue buying the stock and push it up or push it down or have a sell off. And then I'll buy it based off of that. So even though this is a really nice setup, I am not going to trade the stock until Thursday because of the earnings report. If you are a new trader or or you're a self-taught trader, just because a company's earnings report comes out and it looks really good doesn't mean the stock is going to go up. Everybody knows Nvidia, right? Nvidia had, I mean, it was like before it became a $4 trillion stock company, they were doing really good. Their reports came out, they're making money, they're making sales, but then the price of the stock still dropped, right? Because because the market makers, which are the major investors and institutional investors, they thought the stock was overweight, so they sold off, and then they bought the stock again when it was cheap, and they pushed it up to a $4 trillion company, the first one in history. All right, so that's why I'm not going to trade the stock, even though it's on my watch list. I'm not going to trade it till Thursday, and this is me planning out my week. So the next stock that we're going to be looking at is NOG, and that's a great example as to why I myself personally do not trade during market hours. I cannot be explaining stuff to you guys and really be focused on trading and making money because I do take trading extremely seriously. You're trading with money and it's not a game, and I'm trading with a live account. I'm trading with my own money, and I have to show discipline. I can't be disciplined and take trading really seriously and also be, you know, doing all of this, like, talking to people and everything else. I don't know how the other guys do it. Maybe they can multitask and I'm just horrible at it. Okay. No shots fired. All right. Next one that we're going to be looking at is we're still looking at this stock NOG, but we're looking at it on the daily time frame, right? Now, like I said before earlier, our area of resistance is not just a line, and our area of support is not just a line. It's actually a zone. Okay. So here's the top part of the area of resistance, and here's the bottom area. Right now, the stock price is $29.38. It's right here below the area of resistance at the lowest point. So what I'm doing is I'll be waiting for that stock to break back through it. And because this is our latest area of resistance over here, I cannot buy the stock at 30. Okay, if I would want to wait for the stock to break through this area of resistance right over here, because this is the latest. This is the latest one that we have. So once the stock kind of breaks through there, I would probably buy it, and it'll be a long-term hold where I can just ride the waves up, probably up until about 40. All right, because the another area of resistance is up here. So sometimes it's a little bit patient. Yeah, I can buy it here at 29 and say I hope it continues to go up. But with the RSI right here sitting right on the 50 mark, I want to see tomorrow that it it bounces off of here, starts to point up. I'm waiting for the price to break through and pass through this area of resistance. And then I want it to actually break through this area of resistance. So I'll probably look at buying this stock at about $32. Okay. And that's like a $2 difference because right now the price is $29.38. So you put plus two, that's going to put you like right above here. Okay. Oh, 30, 31, 32. Yeah. $3 actually. So yeah, there's a $3 difference between here and there, but I rather play it safe and just buy it here at 32 and ride the wave up to 40. That's just me. All right. And if we look at it on a 4-hour time frame, just to kind of confirm, on a 4-hour time frame, you see, there's a lot of things that can happen here on our 4-hour time frame as well. So I would say, yep, look at this on our 4-hour time frame. The stock price is, our RSI is pointing down on our 4-hour time frame. So it's below the $50 mark. It's below the 50 mark. So that lets us know that we can possibly be in a possible downtrend right over here. Okay, so we're gonna have to keep an eye on that. So yeah, this stock right here is not something I plan on trading right now anytime soon. And if you look right over here, it is an oil and gas stock. Because it is an oil and gas stock, like I said at the beginning of this live stream, you kind of want to be careful and stay away from those a little bit. You don't want to really get involved in that right now because we don't know what's going to happen. And I'm speaking from the point of view of a new trader, not somebody who's an experienced trader. Okay. Now, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to be doing specifically with this stock because, like I said, most of the people watching this are going to be my students. So I'm